we'll have the virtual housekeeping that I'm sure many of you can recite back to me now. If you're not speaking, please have your microphone off and your camera off. If you'd like to post in the chat, please do so, and we'll come to any questions that you've raised there in the chat. The session is being recorded, so bear that in mind when you put comments in the chat. And also in this session, we are going to be using Menti towards the end of the session, and there are some instructions that Nicole has posted in the chat about how to download that and the code that you need. So this session is, I've forgotten what it's called. It's called What Does Next Year Hold for You? And what a year we've had this year. What a year. If anybody had said to us back in November last year we'd have the year that we had, we wouldn't have believed them. And I'm hoping that nobody's got any notes from what I said last November we would be doing. If only I'd had a crystal ball. Nicole, can you play the video, please?
Sorry, I've got to click the same button. Give me a second. I've got through the whole week without doing this, and it's gone wrong on the last session. Let me just check how I've clicked the button. There we go.
Please come in, take a seat. Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I'm a bit nervous. I've actually never done anything like this before. So, you would like to know the future? Yeah, of course. That's why I'm here. That's why I paid. Are you sure? I'm absolutely certain. So, this is very serious. I will look into my crystal ball, and I will tell you your future. All right. Crystal ball, please. Show me. Tell me. Show me the future. I can see you are a comedian. Yes, but no points for that. I am quite successful. Next year, you will no longer be a comedian. No? You will be substitute teacher and amateur hairdresser. Really? Your uniform for these jobs will be tracksuit bottoms. You will wear these tracksuit bottoms every day for many months. And on top half, you will wear a t-shirt that you slept in night before. That sounds very odd. Okay. I see you getting very excited about the trip next year. Oh, that's probably the safari that I've booked. We've actually been really looking forward to that. We're going with friends. No, the trip that you are most excited about next year seems to be a trip to the garden center. Sorry, am I not going on holiday with friends? Dream on. I'm afraid your friends will no longer come within 2 meters of you. That can't be the case. I'm having a huge birthday party next year. Cancelled! You will sing happy birthday, though, to yourself. Every day. At least 8 times. That's very sad. And all your friends, they will be furloughed. Furloughed? Furloughed. You can't just make words up. I see you now. You are in a shop. You are at the till. You are very, very nervous. You are wearing a mask on your face and gloves on your hands. Am I robbing this shop? Am I going to be a robber? You will spend many months inside. You will only be allowed out for 1 exercise per day. I'm going to be in prison for robbery. That's what you're telling me. Is this crystal ball actually working? Whoa, please. Okay. Please, step back, do not touch ball. Sorry. Please don't touch crystal ball. Antibacterial. Oh, please, come on. Please don't touch balls. Do you always carry hand sanitizer with you? I know what's coming. This is all sounding quite odd and far-fetched. I can see now your family roots. I suppose that's very impressive. You can see the ancestry of my family. No, I can tell you that your mother, your sister, and your wife has very, very dark roots in their hair. Well, I'm sorry, but that doesn't sound very believable. My wife is literally always in the hairdresser. I don't know her natural color. I see your wife. You are together. It is 10 o'clock in the morning, only just turned 10 a.m. You are both drinking Prosecco together. It is a Tuesday. That sounds exciting. What are we celebrating? You are celebrating Tuesday, although both of you think it's Wednesday. So I won't be a comedian next year or a TV host. Not really. I can tell you that you will have many meetings. These meetings will always be in your kitchen. You'll never wear trousers. And the meetings will always begin with the words, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I can see you. I can't hear you. You need to unmute it. Press bottom left. It's in the I'm texting you. Good. I can hear you now." None of that makes any sense whatsoever. How do you please sign currently your emails? Question. Oh, right. Signing in at the end of an email are best wishes, I suppose. Just best wishes. From next year, you will sign all emails with "Stay safe."
Thanks, Nicole. I thought that might bring a smile to our faces this afternoon, particularly as most of us have found out that we're in a higher tier than perhaps we'd hoped from next week. So although we've all had our thoughts dominated by COVID over the last 8 months, there still has been a significant amount of business as usual work taking place. And myself and Duncan are going to take a look back over the last 12 months and also a look forward over the next 20 minutes at what we hope, COVID and EU exit permitting, we can all start working towards. We're going to break the work into sort of 4 strands to give some structure to our musings this afternoon, thinking about primary authority, better business for all, the industrial strategy. And having said that, we won't just focus on COVID. We're going to start with thinking about COVID and the work that's been done on that, because it has been such a large part of everybody's work over the last 8 months. Duncan is going to talk about what has been achieved, and then I'm going to pick up and take a forward look. So Duncan, can I hand over to you to talk a little bit about the work that's been done on COVID?
Thanks, Catherine. I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that video, and it's a really good opener in terms of what a strange year we've all had. You know, if you cast your minds back to March when COVID hit, OPSS was immediately heavily engaged in PPE, all aspects of the PPE supply chain, and of course we were thrown into the immediate lockdown business restrictions work, and we did such a significant pivot of our people that I thought that some of our very important business as usual products like Prime Authority and BBFA might have to be completely deprioritised. I didn't know whether we'd have capacity to carry on with them at all. But we threw ourselves into working across Whitehall, particularly with the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, MHCLG, Department for Health and Social Care, DHSC, but also many other departments. We were on constant calls across Whitehall, helping fellow civil servants scramble rapidly towards solutions to the whole COVID challenges. There were all sorts of ideas about how best to deliver a lockdown, and we had our own sort of mantra, as it became, that we wanted to put across in those conversations. You know, one of our mantras became that around the role of local authority regulators versus the role of police. You know, we're very clear that the police regulate people, but if you want to regulate businesses, then you need local authority regulators to do that. And we're still flying that flag every day across Whitehall. There was lots of discussions that we need to have about what powers local authority regulators would need. So all sorts of well-intentioned people across Whitehall wanted to effect change, but they didn't necessarily fully understand the practical side, what it would mean if you were in a business on the ground in a place what powers you would need. There was lots of work we had to do around legal definitions, around making sure that we got regulations that could be interpreted effectively in the way that policymakers intended. We had lots of conversations about how to support local authority regulators. Most people across Whitehall had no real understanding of what local regulators were, what their skill sets were, what their scale was. We were involved in lots of conversations about how to scale local authority regulators up. The obvious fact being you can't just buy another 1,000 local regulators; they take time to create. And so, how do you meet that challenge? And we had some incredible moments trying to tackle long-standing funding pressures that local regulators have got. I remember one meeting where we had literally 20 minutes to work through with MHCLG colleagues, what the cost would be for the first lockdown for all the local authorities in the UK. We literally had 20 minutes to work up some numbers to try and get that money through, which we were able to, and it ran into the tens of millions. So it was some crazy times for the team during this lockdown period. One of the things that I'm most proud of that together we achieved was the monitoring of local authority regulatory activity. So I remember having a conversation with another government department, and they were telling me how hard it was to get monetary information out of local authorities. They were explaining that their annual return was very poorly complied with, and they had to do lots of chasing, and it was really difficult. It took months to get the data together. So we promptly launched daily monitoring for our business lockdown work. And yes, we had to do a lot of chasing. Yes, we got some pushbacks. But we got your data to number 10 every day in those first days of lockdown, which meant that we were able to inform number 10 as to what was actually happening on the ground in real businesses, which was absolutely key. There was lots of media stories at the time which were relatively misleading, as is often the case, about what activity was happening, and we were able to get real numbers into the policymakers' hands, into the politicians' hands, which was absolutely incredible. And thanks to everybody that continues to provide that information to us now. Obviously, you'll be aware we produced lots of guidance and notice templates for local regulators. Often we were writing guidance based on what we thought the regulations might say. We then have to update that once we saw the regulations get laid. The turnaround time was crazy, and I keep reminding the team that 9 months ago, it was a requirement to consult on regulations for 3 months before they were brought in. Make sure you've got the guidance out 3 months ahead of the regulations commencing. That was the mantra. But in these strange times, we're literally writing the guidance before the regulations are even finalised and getting them out within hours often of the regs taking effect. So as I say, really huge effort from the team to achieve that, and we're still doing it. As you'd imagine, right now we've got people eagerly awaiting the next tiering regulations. We'll get them this evening, and we'll have guidance in place within a matter of hours, I suspect. Obviously, inevitably lots of inquiries from local regulators. You can't make regulations at this pace and not end up with lots of edge cases and ambiguity. And I'm really proud of the team, the courteous and professional approach that they've taken. People have been grumpy at times. We've all been that person that just wants the answer to a question and gets frustrated when they can't get it. But I'm really proud of how well we've managed to respond to those inquiries and to channel them into the policy departments that can provide the answers and feed back the edge cases and the concerns into the policy machine. And then finally on this one, we had a lovely call on Tuesday with this Catherine and the team, where we think we did the analysis, and we think we had more than 1,000 local regulator colleagues join that call to hear about the latest updates in terms of how we're going about business restrictions. And that's absolutely incredible. Prior to COVID, we've never had an event for 1,000 regulators. We've never been able to communicate in this way before and to reach so many people so effectively. So we're really pleased with that, and we're looking at how we can do more to build on what we've learned through COVID together. We've all learned to use new tools and to work in new ways. And this week of wonder is another example where we've had so much engagement with so many regulators. And it's been so powerful. We definitely don't want to stop. Even when there is a vaccine, even when the world goes back to normal, we want to keep going with what we've learned through this period. So I'll go back to you, Catherine.
Thanks, Duncan. So in terms of looking forward with COVID, well, yes, we're all hoping that vaccine comes quickly and life can return to normal. But in the meantime, the team will continue to support you as local authorities through representing your concerns across Whitehall. We're reviewing our current approach with regards to receiving and collating inquiries. I don't think it is sustainable as trying to respond to individual inquiries, and we're looking for a way that we can make sure we get answers to you quickly as possible, but in the most efficient way that we can, and we'll keep you up to date with that. Because we're not the policy holders, we can't provide you with interpretation, and that won't change going forward. You making decisions about your individual premises in your individual localities is what needs to happen and is happening up and down the country. We'll continue to connect you to government departments. We'll use the strategic regulatory networks. That has been working well because it's vital that government continues to get a realistic insight about what it's like for you out there, and the only people that can tell government are yourselves. As Duncan says, we'll continue to manage the survey. I know it's probably a bit of a pain, but it honestly has made such a difference. There's people in Whitehall now talking about environmental health and trading standards who've never really understood before what jobs you do. So the profile that you have now is incredibly high, and we'll continue to make sure that it stays so across government. We'll continue to send out guidance and communications that will continue to go to heads of service. It won't be posted online, so you need to make sure that in your authorities you've got a mechanism for getting that information from your heads of service. And in terms of kind of just moving slightly away from COVID, BEIS has set its priorities for the coming year, and these include helping businesses to bounce back and making the UK the best place in the world to start and scale a business. You have a key role in helping to deliver these priorities, and our team will be there to support you through the use of our products of both Primary Authority and Better Business for All. And that's probably a good place, perhaps, Duncan, to move to talk about Primary Authority and what's happened in Primary Authority over the last 12 months.
Brilliant, thanks, Catherine. Always very happy to talk about Primary Authority. It's something that we're enormously proud of here in OPSS. Primary Authority enables us to see all the finesse and subtlety of local regulation be brought to bear on national challenges. As I say, it's something that we've always been very proud of. In February, pre-COVID, we celebrated the 10th anniversary of Primary Authority at a hotel in Telford. Seems kind of unbelievable now. We had 150 people in one room all at once together, and nobody had a mask on. It was absolutely unthinkable in the current world. And we had a wonderful conference with an overnight stay. We were able to hear about 100,000 businesses participating in Primary Authority, and we heard lots, as always, about the innovative work that partnerships are doing. So that was an absolutely fantastic event, and it was a real privilege for me to be able to participate in that. We also this year we've done a lot of work to bring Primary Authority and Better Business for All closer together. We've done that. We've got Primary Authority regional groups now sitting under the Better Business for All product strategic regional networks. And that's one way of bringing these two key products together. And on Primary Authority, we've got Primary Authority expert panels, which have always existed with, for example, the Supermarkets Primary Authority group. And as I said in my piece on COVID, we thought that Primary Authority might have to be put on the back burner as we went into the response to COVID in the early days. But actually, the complete opposite is what happened. Primary Authority became one of the key solutions to COVID, and through the regional groups, we were able to pull together Primary Authority expert panels on new topics that were relevant to COVID. So hospitality, leisure, warehousing, and vehicle sales were four that I'm conscious of, and they were able to develop approaches for those business sectors to COVID security. Obviously, the people writing the guidance were writing it at speed. They probably hadn't thought through every possible situation, every possible scenario. And so these groups have had a real meaningful impact in terms of keeping the nation safe through this lockdown period. Say an incredible contribution that those experts from local authority regulation have been able to have in terms of fighting this national crisis. So Primary Authority, from being something that we were wondering whether we could continue to resource in the closing days of March, has become an absolute solution set at the centre of keeping the nation going through this difficult time. Back to you, Catherine.
Thanks, Duncan. So looking forward with Primary Authority then, you've heard, hopefully had a chance to go to the session on the Primary Authority regional groups earlier in the week, and we're going to continue to support you to develop and shape those PARGs. We'll consider some of the best ways of sharing the discussions from those groups. I know that that's been raised a couple of times this week, how we do that, and we look forward to working with you on them. We're also now considering how we take that model into Wales and work with colleagues in local authorities in Wales. Hopefully as well this week you've had a chance to go to some of the other Primary Authority sessions. We've had them on the determinations, on EU transition. We've had a PA MOT session that I know was well received. And this work will continue. We're putting quite a lot of time into considering what tools are needed that kind of wrap around the PA scheme, from when you start to look for a partner, if you're setting out new in Primary Authority, right through the first 6 months and beyond to when you're preparing advice, writing it inspection plans, and even the determination process. We intend to hold another national seminar in February for Primary Authority. Sadly, it won't have all the bells and whistles that the one did last February. I see there, Adrian, you put that you remembered it well. Perhaps didn't have as much to drink as many who were there, who perhaps don't remember it quite so well. But it was a very good event, and I think it's fair to say that the event this year will be virtual. And more details on that will come out soon. We're just in the process of finalising the dates on that. But as always, we'll be very keen to hear what you would like us to cover as part of that event. The work that we planned on doing in this last year on bringing alcohol licensing into PA and running a pilot had to be put on hold. We're hopeful that we'll be able to start that work again in the coming year. And also we're still pushing to have Primary Authority recognised in the COVID legislation. That's something a lot of people have spoken to us about. We have raised that with colleagues across government, and we've still got our fingers crossed that that's going to happen. So Duncan, I'll pass back to you now to pick up about Better Business for All.
Thanks, Catherine. I'm determined to get through this meeting without failing to take myself off mute once, but we'll see. Yeah, so the third achievement that I wanted to talk about for the team and for local regulators working with the team is the progress we've made on Better Business for All. You'll be aware this is a long-standing programme and one that we're very proud of. We've been building infrastructure around BBFA for some time, so we've had lots and lots of successful BBFA programmes. Perhaps the infrastructure has been catching up a little bit. So we've built the network of strategic regional network, where we've got 7 regions. Each region has a network chaired by a local regulator, and hugely grateful to the chairs who've stepped up to lead those regions. And of course, each region has someone from OPSS sort of attached to it to provide what support we need to provide. They meet 2 to 4 times a year, and they're absolutely central to development of successful regulatory offers in each region. They span Better Business for All programs as well as Primary Authority, and they oversee the Better Business for All program groups of their region. There are 38 BBFA program groups, as I understand it, based around the LEP geography, looking at regulatory support in localities, providing connection to growth hubs, focusing on economic development. So it's really important work on it, and these strategic regional networks also oversee the regional Primary Authority groups, PA regional groups. So this is really useful infrastructure to sort of put local regulators in the driving seat of the strategic approach to regulation in each region. We've also been launching some great new BBFA programs last year, so Sheffield and Lincoln spring to mind, and we've established we established the strategic regional networks to enable local authority regulators to support each other. Now, clearly, we didn't know that COVID was coming, and as I've already been open about, our first response to COVID was to wonder whether we could sustain all of this worthy work through the crisis. And our first thought was perhaps we needed to take a step back. But actually, this infrastructure that we've built has proved to be absolutely crucial within the pandemic. What happened was the infrastructure that we built for regional strategic networks became incredibly valuable to provide government with a very fast way to plug into the local expertise in regulation. So what we actually did was we were able to use the infrastructure to support the establishment of the PA expert panels for the sectors I've mentioned already. And also we brought the chairs together to provide a communications channel for other government departments to use to test their developing COVID policy. So we had the Joint Biosecurity Centre, the Business Readiness Directorate for the End of Transition Period, DHSC. They were able to come to the chairs group and to actually test their ideas, test the thinking, hear from real regulators on the front line that were coordinating regulatory responses as to how policy was playing out on the ground. So this infrastructure has been hugely instrumental in connecting the world of local regulation to the world of Whitehall, which don't necessarily understand each other as well as they would want to. So as I say, it's been absolutely, we didn't build this for COVID, but the model's been really, the strength of the model's been highlighted by how valuable it's been through COVID. We've also taken the opportunity to learn from the new technology. So I've already spoken about how we're able to reach more people now in the new world of Teams. We used that approach to our welcome webinar week for the new Northwest BBFA partnership. So we were able to use the new technology to have 50 delegates from across the Northwest doing the usual startup model for BBFA, but using Teams, attending a range of sessions and giving them opportunities to connect into the growth hubs and so forth. So again, that's been really powerful. Real tribute to the team. I'm very proud of the OPSS team, as you can probably gather. We've embraced all the changes that have been forced upon us, and we're finding we can sometimes do things even better than we could before. So absolutely fantastic results on BBFA. Back to you, Catherine.
Thank you. We're sounding like the news at 10 people, Duncan, where it's like, and now back to you in the studio. So BBFA next year. Well, BBFA will be 10 next year. Hard to believe, but and for those of you who thought that it was just another fad, another initiative, I'm very pleased to say you were wrong, and I say that quite often to people within OPSS as well about the relevance of BBFA keeps showing itself, and COVID, as Duncan has said, has been has proven that. So we will celebrate next year. COVID might determine how we do that, but next November the bunting will be out in one way or another. And we'll continue to support and develop the SRNs with you. Good channel for discussing regulatory approaches, but their success does depend on your involvement and your support. As I said in the session earlier this morning, don't overcomplicate what the SRNs are about. They're essentially a route to communication and networking. They're about you meeting with like-minded people, like-minded colleagues to bring about change. We'll build on the success of the week in the Northwest, the webinar welcome week, which is quite difficult to say. If there are other regions that want to do a similar approach, then speak to regional leads, and we can set that up. And of course, we'll be supporting new programmes. Hopefully, this week has perhaps inspired some people to think about starting a BBFA programme if they haven't got one, or perhaps rejuvenating one that might have gone a little bit stale. And I pass back to you now, Duncan, to talk about the industrial strategy.
Thanks, Catherine. So on industrial strategy, Catherine was clever enough to persuade the leadership of OPSS to invest quite heavily in the last year in regulatory simplification projects delivered predominantly by local authorities. She made the case that investing in trying different approaches to regulation would be worthwhile, and that's certainly how we feel about it. So I think we invested in something like 38 projects. These were everything from badges in Devon to barges in Wolverhampton. How can regulation be done differently and better? Now, I'm not going to lie, the projects are mostly complete. Our writing up of the reports and share of the learning has been delayed by COVID. We have had to put this one on the back burner, but we are really positive about what we've learned from this, about what's been tested in terms of new regulatory approaches. Of course, they didn't all work in the way that was expected, but there's lots of learning there which we're excited about sharing with all of you when we can pause for breath and do that. We also did some pilots of how growth hubs can be better connected to regulators. So this idea of when a business rocks up at a growth hub, somebody wants to start up a business, how they can be connected to regulation, how can they get plugged into things like primary authority. Again, those pilots have been really successful. We've been delayed in terms of getting that learning out to you, and I do apologise for that, but really worthwhile pilots that we've run. And also, under the theme of the industrial strategy, we've been working on the tourism sector deal. So we've been encouraging you to work on the tourism sector deal. We've been working with the Tourism Alliance to understand where SME tourist businesses get their advice and support, how we can improve that. How do we provide the most effective support to not only ensure that SME tourism businesses are compliant, but that they're successful as businesses. Again, really, really useful work that's still in flight. And this is all about, this industrial strategy banner is all about connecting the work of local regulation and the huge contribution that local regulation can make to the industrial strategy and to growth, connecting that firmly into the government level policy. And that's what this team and the work of this group and Catherine with local authority regulators is really, really nailing that in a way that I've never seen before in my career. So absolutely fantastic work. Back to you, Catherine.
Thank you, Duncan. So in terms of the future with the industrial strategy, there's Industrial Strategy Mark II, and we're waiting to hear a bit more about that. As with everything, it's delayed because of COVID. It does seem that if you, and I'm not suggesting for one moment this is the case, but it does seem that if you want to kind of have an excuse for not doing something at the moment, you can say it's because of COVID. I'm not suggesting that team is something that you do either. So in terms of the growth hub pilots, we will be looking to roll those out further. The value of involving the growth hubs with local regulators is now very well understood, and this project has developed a relatively simple process for connecting the business support work of growth hubs and local authorities. And if you are interested in us working with you to roll that out in your region, then please do get in touch. At this stage, I can't say how we'll be able to support any simplification projects going forward. We don't know what funding we will have available, but sometimes your ideas don't actually need funding. They might just need facilitation, they might need help with connecting you to the right people. Sometimes they might just need a little bit of moral support or a sounding board, and we can still do all of that regardless of what the budget is next year. If you have got ideas that you're keen to progress or you want to talk to us about, please do get in touch. If we think that what you're suggesting would have benefit to other areas, then we'll be very keen to talk to you about them and to promote them with others. We have made a commitment to share with you the case studies from the simplification projects that have been done in the last year, and we will get those out to you as soon as we can. With tourism, we've been supporting the tourism sector deal through work on the project that Duncan has referenced, and we will be testing out some of the recommendations in that report with some pilot work. We've identified a couple of local authorities to work with. I don't think I'm allowed to say at the moment who those are. I'm sure I'll be corrected if that's wrong, but as soon as we're able to share that with you, we will. But we are very keen to be working with you with tourism, the tourism sector. We're going to set up a tourism expert panel, and we would like at least one representative from each region to be on that panel. Could that be you, perhaps, or somebody in your team? The tourism sector has been hit really hard. I know a lot of sectors have been hit hard. The tourism sector has been hit really hard, and regulators and growth hubs have got a role in supporting their recovery. So I'd urge you to kind of get involved and help shape what that role looks like. We're currently scoping a project with destination management offices, DMOs, to look at rolling out the project that we did with growth hubs with DMOs. And again, we've had interest from a number of DMOs. So what we need to do now is make sure we've also got interest from the partnering local authority, and we'll be rolling that out. So we'll be in touch with those local authorities over the next week or so. So a lot going on next year, a lot planned for next year. I think all of us have learned this year that we perhaps need to be flexible in our approaches. A DMO, Debbie, is the Destination Management Office. They tend to be sort of the tourism business support offices. Some of them are the old tourist information offices. They tend to got a marketing and business support role with the tourism sector. I think some are based in councils and some are separate. In addition to the 4 areas we've talked about, there are a couple of other items I want to mention. The local delivery team has now been structured around regions, and the leads for those regions will be reaching out to engage with you. I hope you've realised over this last few days they are an approachable bunch and very dedicated and keen to help you where they can. So please do make contact if you want to discuss anything you've heard this week. The regulatory awards will be back next year. We're starting to consider what format those might take, but please do enter. It is an opportunity to showcase what the fantastic work that you do all do, and you don't get a lot of opportunity to do that. So please, when those are launched, do consider entering them. So as I bring this week to a close, I've got a few questions that I just want to ask you to help us review the week and shape our thinking for the future. So George, could you please put the questions up? For those of you who haven't done it, you need to enter the Menti code that shows in the chat now. Okay. So this was to tell us how many sessions people had attended over the last few days. So I think we've got 40 plus people on the call. So okay, it's creeping up. It's creeping up. And we tried in this week to put on a wide range of sessions, something that would appeal to everybody, no matter what organisation that you came from that's involved in any of our programmes. So being able to attend that many sessions is fantastic, and it does bring home to you really the advantage of using the virtual approach. There's no way that you could have attended more than 5 sessions if we'd been meeting in London. Can we have the next question, please, George? So if you could just enter here 1 or 2 words, that would be fantastic. I think the engaging with new people is interesting, because one of the things that I was worried about in doing a virtual event like this is that you kind of miss that chat with people in the room. But we've certainly seen from the attendees some new names, people that we haven't met before. So that's fantastic, and we'll take these away and look at what you're telling us. Been able to dip in and out of sessions, yeah, that's always good. It's a bit more difficult walking in and out of a room.
Catherine, if I just can come in for a moment, I may be stealing your thunder. I mean, what I'm really interested in is this. This is the first time we've done a session in this way. To what extent, are the things here that we that we wouldn't want to lose as the world goes back to normal. I know that's where you're going with this. It's really good to see people are finding it fits around their work in a way that perhaps wasn't possible with some of our other models. So it's really good to see.
Can we have the next question, please, George? Please don't put funding in here, because that's out of our control. But anything else, again, just 1 or 2 points would be great. I think after the sessions this week, again, if you've got thoughts in terms of what we should be focusing on, future events that you'd like to see, then you can email us, and we'll put our email address in the chat. The comment there about legal metrology, I should pass that on to our trading standards coordination team. I think they have got some plans for engaging with legal metrology. Okay, and thank you very much for your comments there. We'll take those away and look at them. In terms of the point there about interpretation of grey areas of guidance, we can't interpret the guidance. It's not our guidance, but what we can do is pass your queries on where you feel that the guidance needs to be clearer to the policy department, and we will continue to do that. Could we have the last question, please, George? Do you prefer the digital delivery of the conference, or would you prefer to return to a physical event? Digital has come out very, very strongly there. Yes, Jane, I think that's one of the benefits of doing virtually, and I think the success of this week has proven that it can work, and it really has been a week of wonder. We came up with that title rather flippantly, or Nicole came up with that title rather flippantly a few months ago, and it stuck, as we said at the beginning of the week. But I think it has been a week of wonder. There's been 23 different sessions that you could go to this week. I believe if you've been to as many sessions as you could, 10 hours of CPD is available, and you've got your certificates are in your delegate pack. We've had average attendance in sessions of between 50 and 60, with some over 100 people in the sessions. We would have never had that in London. And we've had many new faces and covered a great amount of topics. I think the virtual nature of the event has helped. We've had no travel expenses, as James mentioned there. The ability to put on more sessions. It's taken less time to attend, and it's all been very positive, and a very definitely we need to consider for the future. We've had some funny moments. We've seen people's cats, people's dogs, people's partners, and I believe as well we had a special guest appearance from somebody's child who's been homeschooled and wanted to appear on. So it has been entertaining too. But I would hate to think that this makes it the end of meeting in person. I personally have missed the buzz of being in the room, I find it quite difficult presenting to a screen and not being able to read the audience, the body language. And I think the biggest loss is those incidental chats over coffee or talking to the person next to you who you've not met before and realise that you've got similar experiences and things to discuss. And of course, I didn't actually get to buy a new dress this year for this year's event either, which is a big disappointment to me. But I'd also like you to indulge me just for a moment. This week has required a lot of time and effort from the team. They've done all of this planning and all of this preparation while still responding to all the COVID queries that we've been having. I know everybody thinks that their team is the best. I do too. And I'm very lucky to have such a dedicated team. And I think you're very lucky too to have people who are so dedicated to help you with the work that you do. So a huge thank you to them all. Neil, Stuart, Teresa, Jackie White, Jackie Fitzsimons, Kate, Caroline, Khadija, and a special mention to Nicole, who had the initial idea for this Week of Wonder and has made it happen. And if we were in London now, I would ask you all or invite you all to show your appreciation. And I'm going to do the same thing virtually. So I'd like to ask everybody if they turn on their camera and turn on their microphone and just give the team a round of applause, please. To any of our external speakers as well. We haven't been able to do this, so we're able to do this on our own. We have external speakers helping us, so thank you for that too. And finally, I hope that the festive period is calm for you. We have produced an advent calendar for you. It is in your delegate packs, but you can't open the first door until the 1st of December, so you'll have to contain yourselves until then. Going to play out now in a moment with a message from the team, but from me, thank you very much for your participation this week and stay safe. Can we play the video, please, Nicole?
Wishing you a merry COVID-free Christmas and a peaceful 2021. Merry Christmas.
Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everyone, and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everyone, and all the best for 2021.
Merry Christmas, everybody, and have a heartfelt Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas from me, Neil Boyle, and let's hope for a happy and healthy New Year.
Hello, this is Kate from the local delivery team. I just wanted to say thank you for joining us this week and wish you all a very happy Christmas and New Year.
I wish you and your families a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy New Year.
Thanks very much.